Buckle up especially this morning because we have rain all across the state of Michigan. It rained hard all night, too, and it is raining right now. Glad to have you with us to put a little sunshine, I hope, into your morning. We have a couple of ladies to do that. That's really best, don't you think? Ann Doyle from Ann Doyle Strategy. She was one of the first sports broadcasters in the United States of America, and then once she conquered that male bastion, she decided to go into the auto business and conquer that male bastion, and now she's in politics, too. City councilwoman in Auburn Hills and soon to be author, but she's a leadership consultant. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I don't know if I conquered all those bastions, but I definitely survived and enjoyed it all.
Well, wait a minute now. You were the first, as I know it to be, the first TV sportscaster that was a female in the United States and one of the first people into a male locker room, true?
True.
All right. And in the auto business, your top title before you decided to get out?
Director of North American Communications for Ford Motor Company.
That's pretty good, I would say. You had the ear of the kings over there, didn't you? Or did they have your ear?
They had my heart and soul 100%, 24/7.
Yeah, that's what it takes to get that high up in the auto business.
Yeah.
Sherrill Freeborough is with us. She was a Saturn dealer for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And how many years have you been in the auto business?
I've been in the auto business about 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years.
So I've gone through the same not quite as high as her, but the same similar kind of situations I'm sure we had.
Yeah, well, in a different way because
Hi.
you own Hyundai of Lansing now in the
Right.
Freeborough Automotive Group. You were a Saturn dealer. You have cars of all varieties there that you sell, and you sell service more than anything is one of the
Service is the key because even when I was a Chevy dealer, I'm not a Chevy dealer, I sold cars. That's how I started. And when I was a car salesperson for the Chevrolet, the biggest thing they would say is, I loved you, but I don't like the service. So it's my mantra has always been to have good service because that's what people need.
personal service.
Personal, good service.
So when you decided to go into the auto business as a woman 30 years ago, you must have been a rarity, I'm guessing.
I was the first woman, one of the first women salespeople, and all the guys used to tell me, "You need to be home. My wife's home cooking, taking care of the kids, and that's where you belong."
They did?
But even my dad said I should be a secretary because you're going to have kids and do that. So
Yeah.
I guess I was naive and I didn't know any better. And I had a son and my husband had passed away, so I just wanted to work hard, and that's what I did.
Did you have people come up to you in the dealership and say, can I see a salesperson, please?
Oh, absolutely. And even when I started out in Okemos and I was a used car manager and the general manager, people say, no, I want to talk to the used car manager. I'd say, that's me.
Yeah.
And so they'd get on my list, you know.
What about you, Ann? Did you have people throw you an elbow now and again and say, go back to the ladies' table?
Oh, absolutely, of course. I mean, Sherrill and I are part of an entire generation of millions of women in this country who can tell you stories like that, and it was happening all over the country, but when it was happening to you, you were all alone, and people, wouldn't hire you for jobs. I mean, I was told by a news director, basically, no one will ever listen to a woman on the radio. Your voices are too high. And so we all have tons of those stories, and then once you got in there, I mean, there was sexual harassment was not illegal at that time. So, we really had to toughen up, and I think that's a lot of reason why women of my generation, Sherrill's, are often accused of, being a little too tough. Well, we had to be tough, but, as long as you kept your soft heart, all was good.
Didn't you learn a lot from those men, though, because of that? I think what I did is I just took everything I could learn from them and then had to beat them. So that's kind of what you have to do, I think.
Oh, yeah, and I'm the first one to say that it was men who gave us our opportunities, too, because there were no women in hiring positions at that time. So there were plenty of men, including my dad and including George Blaha, who hired me for my first job at JIM, who helped us.
Speaking of that, I want to talk to you because I didn't get a chance to talk to you very much. We were, Sherrill, at a big radio reunion on Saturday night in Novi. Ann was there and obviously representing her late father, Vince Doyle, the legendary newscaster in Detroit. And I was there because of the work I'd done with Dick Burton and with J.P. McCarthy, and Dick Burton was the MC of the event. There were 450 people, came from all over the country, Ann, to be there, as you saw, people from Sonny Elliott right on down.
Yeah, I saw that.
What a gas that was. What did you take away from that event?
Well, number one, I mean, when you look around that room and you think about it, I mean, everybody in that room had quite an ego. To be on the air and everything. So, I mean, this room was just like bursting with personality and ego and energy. And but the vibes were just so good, and so I met people that, of course, I'd never known, and then there were all the legends, that you grew up with, and even to see Sonny Elliott walk in, who is now 90 years old and just retired. It was, it kind of gave you the chills.
Yeah, Bill Bonds was there too.
Oh,
If you can imagine.
That's always good.
He took a lot of stick
Yeah.
from the stage,
Oh,
as you
he
can
did.
imagine.
He did.
And
Yeah.
and Ernie Harwell's daughter got up, the last award of the night, and represented her father. And Ann, you were especially touched by that speech.
I mean, normally when you hear speeches at big events like that, the people who have been at who are at the podium are very experienced speakers and very comfortable there. And Julie Harwell clearly was not that at all. And what you saw there was a young woman who was struggling to keep her composure, and who shared that pain and that intimacy with people in the room who she knew loved her dad and honored her dad. And it was amazing to see. And one of the things she said that, not surprised at, but was kind of a shocking number, was she said 18,000 people sent get well cards to Ernie Harwell from all over the world when they heard he was sick.
Well, it was quite a night, and it's always nice to remember the people who helped you, because whether you were in the car business or Ann, you were in media and the car business and the business that I'm in, I know directly, I can trace it right back, the people and the situations that helped me get along the way. And that night, it was great for me to reach out to some of those people and give them a big hug and say thank you, and I do that all the time, because I think it was Ann Rind, for whatever you think of her, who said nobody gets anywhere without the help of somebody else.
Yeah, and it's time for us to help others. You have to pass it forward.
Let me just put the final part on the female part of this conversation that we were having. You'll hear sometimes we'll open up the hour of this program with some little clips and this and that. Here's one of my favorites.
I like women. I enjoy their company. My producer's a woman. I just enjoy their company very much. I get a big kick out of them.
Am I on your good sides now?
Oh, yeah.
We always knew that about
Yes.
you, Michael
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's Woody Allen saying that, so that might put you off a little bit. Sherrill, in the car business news, there was some good news and some bad news for Hyundai this week. Which one do you want to tell us first?
I can let's talk about the good news first.
I'm glad you said that, because Ann Doyle, as a PR executive, I'm sure you've been asked this question before, maybe by the students you teach to or by anyone. If you have to give good news and bad news, from a PR standpoint, which should you give first?
Bad news.
Bad news? I always heard the good news.
Well, let's go to the
Well,
bad
you
news.
got to leave them with the good news.
It's
In some ways,
interesting
and
debate.
it's also, I think about it as when you have bad news, you got to get it out there fast. Don't stall.
Our bad news isn't so bad. It's
Yeah.
really a mixture. There's the recall on the Hyundai Sonata, the ones built between September of 2009 and September of 2010. They're looking at the steering column. They've only found, out of all the vehicles, they've only found 2 with the problem, and it's a bolt that's missing in the steering. But what they've done is they've taken it and we recalibrated the steering. We've done about 60 cars. We've found none with the missing bolt, by the way. And we've recalibrated the steering. The steering is very sensitive. And so we went and we've recalibrated the steering so that when you're on highway, it's not quite as sensitive as it was. So what the recall has done has brought the vehicle in so that we can recalibrate the steering for people. And that's really what we're doing.
Okay.
Plus, Hyundai has us, I'm going to say this, they have us giving little cookies and washing the car and vacuuming it and doing all those special things to make the customer feel comfortable. But really, out of all the vehicles built, only 2 were found by Hyundai, but they wanted to check the calibration of the steering to make sure it was comfortable.
So they're being extra careful.
They're being extra careful.
And a spoonful of sugar with the medicine.
Absolutely. So though it's bad, it's you never like a recall, but it's good that they're doing it in advance and they're doing the right things with it. And then the good news is that in the Car of the Year rankings, there's a whole list of cars that I've sent you, Michael Patrick, but the top 3, number 1 is the Hyundai Sonata, then it's the Ford Fusion. Actually, the Hyundai Sonata got 31.6% vote. The Ford Fusion is at 20.7%, and then the Chevy Volt is at 11.7%. So
If this were the governor's race, it'd be over.
Yep.
31%.
It's very similar to that.
That's pretty
So-
good. Real quickly, Ann, how do they come about choosing the car of the year? Is it part of it public vote?
Well, there are many, many cars of the year. All kinds of different magazines give car of the year, and so there's lots of them. One of the most prestigious is the North American Car and Truck of the Year, and that's always announced at the auto show
Yep.
in January, and that one is voted on by journalists, and so they have to be. It's almost similar to like the Baseball Hall of Fame. You have to be a credentialed journalist.
Well, the journalists are the ones writing all the good stories about the Hyundai Sonata, as far as I can. Can you stay with us for the next segment?
Sure.
Ann Doyle will be with us, Sherrill Freeborough, too. We're going to talk business and the President of the United States when we come back, and what his move yesterday means to small business and his image. Back in a flash.